So I had no clue that this profession even existed, right? I didn't know what it was. I'd never heard of it. And I actually, in my college days, so little while ago, I was introduced to it. I actually saw an ad in the newspaper, right? I was looking for a job, and went down and met with some people that were presenting a business model that I had never experienced or heard of before, but it made so much sense to me because I was raised in a very entrepreneurial family, and so I did have that going for me to begin with. But it was still 100% of you, right? It was 100% of me. I was going to, if I started my own business or if I became a doctor or an attorney or whatever, it was still me, right? It was my efforts. If I didn't go to work, then I wouldn't get paid, right? And that was my belief, and I was fine with that. I was great with that. You can still go out and make a huge success and a great income. But when this concept of direct sales was presented to me, this entire profession that you can earn a small percentage off of hundreds or even thousands of people, rather than just 100% of one. It was kind of an IQ test for me, right? It was like a no-brainer. So 100% of one or a small percentage of hundreds and hundreds and maybe even more than that, right? So it's like, okay, this doesn't require a lot of brain power to figure out which of these is going to be better, right? One's going to lead to residual and the other, it still could, but it's less likely, right? So it was very, very exciting. That was my introduction. I was a network marketing virgin. I had no idea. I'd never heard of anything to do with the concept. And so I jumped in both feet in from that day forward. Well, I was part-time for a while, but still all in. And then eventually worked into full-time and full-time and have been pretty much ever since.
And when you talk about full-time, what is this business like for you today? And then maybe we'll talk about what it's like to start out in.
Okay. Well, today we have a very large team around the world. And so I do spend most of my time, I think, in a training environment, in a teaching and training, mentoring role, especially now via technology, all this great stuff like we have with Zoom, to be able to meet and mentor people all over the world without even leaving home, right? Or leaving your home office. And so I do spend a lot of my time in that now, and it's super rewarding. The greatest thing to me is seeing the change in people's lives, right? Is seeing even the small wins. They add up to be so significant. Helping someone generate a few extra $100 a month. And people don't realize what a huge change that can make for so many, especially in certain areas of the world. I have a great team of people down in Central America. And, for them, if they earn $300 or $400, that's doubled their income, for the month, right? And here we might not think about it as, oh, that's nice, but it's not that big of a deal. But down there, it is a huge, huge deal, right? And so that's one of my greatest satisfactions is just seeing the lives change of people as they're getting going and then investing in their own teams and in their own family and friends to help them achieve that as well, and even move beyond into out of the supplementing your income to replacing your income, and even down the road, my New Jersey friends will like this, to making gangsta money, which is a possibility as well, right? It definitely is. I have many people on my team that do that, and of course it is all relative, and it is all based on effort. And it's the law of the harvest, right? You reap what you sow, you get out what you put in. So no one gets started and kicks back and puts their feet up and the checks just roll in, right? I mean, that doesn't happen. If anyone says that, they're not being truthful with you. And if anyone says they're going to do it for you, oh my goodness, I still get things in the mail even to this day. I don't know, I guess they have my address or something where they're willing to, like, we'll do it for you. We'll do it for you. Just give us your information and we'll do it all for you. Run away. Run away, because those are not real, right? If they were, we'd all do them. And so just stay clear of that.
Let's look at the industry. Let's look at the macro view and then get into sort of some of the details around this. And I definitely want to get into what to look for, not look for if you're thinking about this type of a career, or shift into this type of career. So if we look at, the direct sales industry, I know personally of many multi-billion-dollar companies that are in this industry. Do you have any data on, like, how many people actually, are, it doesn't really employ them, but are contractors with these companies, what the economics of the industry are, that kind of thing?
Oh man, I don't know a specific number, but it's millions. I mean, there's millions. Our company is millions just by itself, and there are many companies, and so it is definitely not a small profession.
So we're talking about millions of people that either part or full time are working, or are distributors, I guess is what you call them, in your company. So, and I know the question is probably in people's minds we're talking about doTERRA, which does essential oils, and which we've used their products for years in our household. We just love the company. And incidentally, if you're watching this, we'll be sending out, because you're a viewer, we'll send out information, and details with contact information, et cetera, if you guys want that. But so doTERRA in and of itself, that's just one company. It's a multi-billion-dollar company, right? And it has several million people who are distributors. So that's just one, right? And then if you start to look at others, so we're got to be in the more than the tens of millions. Well, it's worldwide, right? So it's got to be in many tens of millions, right?
Yeah. The profession as a whole is tens of billions of dollars a year.
Wow.
It is not a small thing, right? It is not a small thing. And do keep in mind, the majority of that revenue comes from customers. I know in our own example, 82% of our members are customers, right? They're not distributors. They don't do the business, right? They just love the product. They purchase regularly. And what that does is it gives tremendous stability, right? Both for our company and the profession as a whole. So that is one of the things you do want to look for in a company is there a really solid customer culture? That is critically important, and it's not just focused on making money or building a business. While that is important, if you don't have the customer base to support it, then you're going to have issues in your longevity as a company. So
and so if we go through some of the attributes of getting into direct sales in this way, so here's what I would point out, and then maybe you can add to it if I miss anything. And I've learned this from you because we've had conversations before. But number one, when you go to start your own business, very high risk, very capital intensive, very labor intensive. If you've got service business, developing all the services and process. If you got product business, developing all the product and processes, et cetera, plus all the sales, marketing, et cetera. If you and mind you, not discouraging it, I've started probably, I think, 15 or 16 companies in my life, so I know what that is. But I'm just saying, when somebody is suddenly jolted from earning a paycheck with a single company and then says, "Oh, I got to try to go do something on my own," unless you really have the resources and relationships to go do that, it's not really an option. The second part, so if somebody will say, well, then franchises, you can buy a franchise. It's an existing business model, training, et cetera. I'm a fan of franchises too. As a matter of fact, we have an interview with a franchise guy, as part of the series. But you're looking at a fairly significant amount of capital to be able to get started in a franchise. So what I like about direct sales is that you have companies that are established, invest heavy in their marketing and training. They have product line, everything. And you step into it, with very little cost. You do a lot of training, and then you're equipped to go out and start building a network, if you will, that starts to build an income for yourself. So, so number one, do you agree with all that? Number two, is there anything you could add to it?
Oh, I agree with all of it. Absolutely. And we have had conversations, you and I, about this, because it is important. No one company offers everything, right? And everyone, if you're out there looking, everyone has the best company. That will be what they say, right? And everyone has the best product, and that will be what they say. And you do have to find a fit for you, right? Because each of us are different. We have different interests and different likes. But in addition to what you just shared, Patrick, I think first off, it has to be a product that you would be the product of. That you are a user of that product. I mean, there are some great companies out there that I've watched over the years that I think are doing great, but it's just not a product that moves me, right? It's not something that it doesn't get me out of bed in the morning excited and passionate, but it does for other people. And so by all means, they should pursue that and keep with it, right? And so does the product move you? Does it move you emotionally, right? Because it can't just be about making money. As you know, I mean, the whole point of this series is about earning an income, making a paycheck, and there's a lot of ways to do that. We live in the gig economy, we call it, right? Meaning side gig, not gigabyte. So there's a lot of side gigs or side hustles. Thank you, Uber, for coining that term, right? And so there's a lot of options, even in this post-corona environment. There's still a lot of options to be able to make an income or generate a side income, but it needs to be one that moves you at an emotional center, not just about making a buck, because you can go do that anywhere, right? If it really moves you emotionally, then you're going to have the stick-to-itiveness, we'll call, to get through the hard days, because you have hard days. That's just part. I mean, Patrick, you've started, how many companies did you say? 17?
16.
I have
and 16. They didn't all work.
And they did, that's right. And I've started a few as well, and they also didn't all work. And sometimes there's some sucky days in there.
More
right?
times than not.
Yeah, and more than one, I promise you. And so if you don't have that passion to move you forward and get through those times, then it's just not going to work out. So you've got to have passion for the product. The product has to be consumable. And there's a lot of different ways that could be defined, I guess. I was with a friend once, and they were starting a direct sales company with books. And I listened to him, and I thought, okay, there's just one huge problem. Number one, the product is not consumable. And he said, well, of course, people are going to read. I'm like, yeah, but they can buy that exact same book on Amazon or at any bookstore that carries it. The product is not unique. There's no difference in that book, whether I buy it here or there. The book is identical. So you don't have number one, it's just not going to have anything special about it. So your product has to be unique. It has to be consumable. It has to be in demand. You've got to have a low cost of entry, which you mentioned a little bit before, and in direct sales. Pretty much every direct sales company that I've ever seen has seemed to have a cost of entry of as low as $25, $35, all the way up to maybe a couple $100, right? Monthly. And of course, this is your business. You do invest in it. You treat it like a business. You're going to have expenses that help grow your business, right? And just like a brick and mortar, right? Or any other, or a franchise, for example, you're going to have those expenses. And so, however, getting started and getting that first paycheck coming can be done for very little, and then sometimes even no money, right? To get started, little to none. And so that's something you definitely want to look for. And then I mentioned a customer culture already. That's got to be there. And the other big thing is having a culture of personal development or self-development. That to me, and I know, Patrick, you've seen a lot. I think our profession of direct sales is more rooted in personal development than any other profession out there. Like, it is heavy in our culture. It is heavy in who we are, because we have to grow and develop, because we're managing a huge workforce of volunteers, right? No one on your team is an employee. You can't fire them, even though you might want to. You can't, make them go away, because they're there voluntarily. So instead, you have to learn to inspire and motivate and incentivize human nature and move these people forward, because you can't just be their boss and tell them what to do or they're fired. That doesn't work. It's not the reality in this profession, right? So leadership development, personal development, that has to be a critical component of the company, and also of the network, the leaders and the builders in those teams, to make that happen.
Thanks so much for being here and watching that video. And can I ask you to please subscribe to our channel so you can find out when we're posting new content. You'll be alerted right away when we do. To share this with people you think might benefit from the information, and certainly it helps us if you like the video. So if you like what you just saw, go ahead and hit that like button. And again, thank you so much for being here with me right now.